Have you ever seen a movie with 6 stories and 6 different art styles? Today it's here. Produced by the original team behind The Longest Day in Chang'an, this film uses a fantastical structure connecting 6 scenes, boasts diverse art styles and boundless imagination, and can be considered a benchmark of Chinese aesthetics or a nominee for Best Animated Feature at the 38th Golden Rooster Awards. It is Leadsa Land Roer 4. Now let's enjoy this movie together. The film begins by telling the story of a scholar from Luoyang who's keen on talking about ghosts and monsters and accidentally arrived at Land Roer 4. The story is told from his first-person perspective, which leads to the following exciting stories. Late one night, the scholar was awakened by a strange noise. He followed the sound to an ancient well, found nothing amiss, and was about to leave when a large tongue pulled him into the well. There he encountered a yellow horse and a green-headed turtle. This was the main story of the well. The two claimed to be Master Lucas and Victor, and that they had brought him in so he could judge which of their stories was better. The scholar who loved ghost stories was overjoyed upon hearing this. First, Master Lucas started by showing a movie. The reason it's called showing a movie is because you can listen to and watch at the same time. This story tells of a young man named William who fantasizes about becoming an immortal, but his wife always manages to shatter his dreams. This story takes place during the Jin dynasty, before the construction of the Land Roer Temple. William, a Taoist priest from Laosan, was walking down the street feeling frustrated when he saw a fight. Adhering to his principle of not watching a spectacle, he went over to investigate. It turned out an old Taoist priest wanted to get a free li, a type of liquor, from the shop owner, who of course wouldn't agree. So the kind-hearted William bought a free li out of his own pocket and gave it to the old Taoist priest. The old Taoist priest buried the empty pear box in the ground, saying he wanted to invite the onlookers to eat the pears together. After the old priest sprinkled a pot of water, a miraculous scene occurred. A pear tree laden with huge fruit sprouted rapidly from the ground at the speed visible to the naked eye. Amid the scramble for the pears, the owner realized that all the pears were from his own truck. Poor owner. He hadn't done anything wrong and had lost a truckload of pears for no reason. Having witnessed supernatural powers, William certainly wouldn't miss this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. He braved mountains and rivers to follow the old Taoist priest up the mountain, begging him to take him as a disciple. Thus, William officially began his path of cultivation. Just when he thought he could finally learn magic, his master told him, "From today onwards, you will watch demolitions with them." After a busy month, William, almost worn out, couldn't take it anymore and wanted to go home. On his way, he saw his master inviting 2 friends over. He unexpectedly witnessed the magical tree that could walk through walls, then the artificial moon, and the empty tree. Even the fairy Selena was invited down. William was stunned and made up his mind to stay, but after a while his enthusiasm was worn down again. He made an excuse, saying he was afraid his wife would worry and had to go home. Before leaving, he asked his master to teach him the wall-penetrating technique he admired. Unexpectedly, his master readily agreed. After some instruction, William finally learned the wall-penetrating technique he had dreamed of. His master also told him some precautions for magic. Magic is not a trick. It cannot be used for illegal purposes or to gain favor through birth. As soon as he entered the house, his wife brought out his favorite chicken feather dish. After a warm greeting, William planned to show off his wall-penetrating skills to the neighbors. At this point, the arrogant William had completely forgotten his master's words. This wasn't wall-penetrating, this was clearly forgotten wall-banging. Anyone who didn't know better would think he had learned Iron Head Kung Fu. After banging his head against the wall many times, in a daze, unwilling to fall into the well, he looked at the moon at the bottom and realized that everything he had been pursuing all these years was just a reflection of the moon and flowers in the well. This story uses felt material to construct a misty fairyland. The single needle rendering took 220 hours to present the prophecy of the tree that walks through the wall with extremely simple aesthetics. I will tell you a story from a dream.
The story told by Victor takes place during the Tang Dynasty. At this time, Land Roer Temple has already been built. The story is called Lotus Princess. The protagonist is named Daisy. When he saved this bee, it foreshadowed that he and this bee were about to embark on a fantastic adventure. The 300 copies of homework made Daisy exhausted. Just as he fell asleep, he entered a fantastic dream. "My master would like to invite you to his mansion." Daisy was led by 2 guards to a magnificent golden hall. Inside the hall, there was a towering tree. At this moment, a honeycomb-shaped platform flew towards her. Daisy stepped on the platform and walked up the tree. "You are Daisy, Queen." The queen praised Daisy's literary talent and wanted her to teach her daughter. Knowing her own level, Daisy initially refused, but seeing such a cute little girl, Daisy was stunned and replied, "Okay, all right." Daisy learned that Lily was also copying Spring River Flower Moon Night by the teacher, so she told her that she actually knew nothing but 2 lines of doggerel she had written. She even taught her Lily her self-invented method of quick copying. After learning, Lily took Daisy outside to a place where there was a concubine named Lily. From a microscopic perspective, Daisy appreciated another another beautiful scene of life in this world, a scene called Flower Fair. Just as Lotus was teaching her to fly, Daisy accidentally fell and woke up from her dream. The next day in class, Daisy, whose mind was full of Lotus, drew it. Unexpectedly, she received praise from the teacher for drawing it well. After class, Daisy, who misses Lotus, is dreaming again. In her dream, she happens to meet Lotus reciting Spring River Flower Moon Night and is being praised by the teacher. After class, the two happily went to the city to play again. Daisy took out the portrait for Lily. Lily was surprised and was about to tell Daisy it was he who asked his mother to find it. Daisy could tell from this that the little bee that Daisy had saved before was Lily. Just then, the sky was torn apart and a big black demon with intestinal tail appeared and began to destroy the town. Seeing this, the queen personally led her troops to fight the great black demon in order to protect her homeland. The brave soldiers charged at the enemy without hesitation, but due to the huge difference in size, they were defeated without any suspense. Back in reality, the little bee in front of him seemed to be guiding him somewhere. Following it, Daisy arrived at a big tree. There, he saw a black snake attacking a beehive. Yes, this was the battle in his dream. Seeing this, Daisy hurriedly used a stone to repel the black snake. Just as the persistent black snake was about to launch a second attack, Daisy came online. If you are willing to forget me, you will guide millions to know me, this compassionate person. My heart is filled with love like the weather. Through their combined efforts, the black snake was finally driven away. The Lotus Princess segment uses watercolor techniques to transform the honeycomb structure into a fairy tale kingdom. The bee princess, with her tender body, protects her people, reflecting a modern woman's awakening consciousness. Back in the well, the two argued fiercely, and the scholar couldn't judge who was stronger, so they decided to have another round of discussion on the theme of love. Okay, I'll have another round. This time, I'll talk about the part about love between a human and a ghost. This time, it's a familiar story called Nenah. The story's background has been moved to the Republican era. It's very imaginative. On a rainy night, our male protagonist, Nathan, arrives at a gloomy inn. Two people with unfriendly expressions also enter with him. Just as they were about to check in, a burly man with a large beard tells him about the rumors circulating in the city. Nathan was lamenting the state of the country when suddenly there was a rapid knock on the door. A beautiful young woman burst through the door. It was Nenah. The woman told her that bad guys were trying to capture her and wanted her to stay in her room for the night. Just then, the woman accidentally fell. Nathan saw the injury on her back and immediately took out some medicine he had made and applied it to her. It was this act of care that made Nenah unable to bring herself to harm him. On the morning of the 4th, a scream came from a room not far away next door. The two guys who came with him yesterday died mysteriously in the room. Nathan, who was preoccupied with his thoughts, happened to meet Nenah and told her what he had just seen. He wanted to take her away. Nenah did not seem surprised when she heard what he said. After hesitating, she took Nathan to the well, intending to tell him her secret. Nenah tells Nathan that she died of illness while traveling through Land Roer, and her father buried her ashes there. She was then controlled by a yaksha, who forced her to seduce the souls of passing humans. If she disobeyed his orders, she would be severely beaten. Nenah also says that Grandma has an eye on him, but he's staying with that bearded man tonight because she thinks he might be an extraordinary person. The bearded man, seeing Nathan bring wine, pulls him inside for a good drink. At midnight, Grandma indeed attacks Nathan. Fortunately, the bearded man is indeed capable and gives her a good beating. When Nathan was about to take Nenah away, he found that Nenah was shackled. At that moment, Grandma also escaped back. In a panic, Nenah could only let Nathan hide in the pool. Grandma, who was afraid, decided to take Nenah away from here. But how could Nenah listen to her at this time? She was right there, shouting for him. The demon revealed her true form and intended to fight Ethan, but the uncivilized Ethan chased the demon away. Ethan turned back to deal with Nenah, but Nathan, who was standing in front of her, told him about Nenah's unavoidable plight. Ethan, who could distinguish right from wrong, then told them that if they reburied Nenah's ashes, she could be reincarnated as a human. Before parting, he gave Nathan a magical artifact that could summon life. Thus, Nathan returned to his hometown and buried Nenah's ashes. Because she couldn't bear to let go of this relationship, Nenah wasn't in a hurry to reincarnate and wanted to stay with Nathan a little longer. But ultimately, humans and ghosts are destined to be apart, and what's meant to happen will happen. The yaksha eventually came knocking. In the critical moment, the magic weapon given to her by Ethan summoned the Asura demon and stole the yaksha into the magic weapon. But Nenah was a ghost, and the magic weapon had the same effect on her. Perhaps it was because he had absorbed a lot of Western influence from being by Nathan's side these past few days, or perhaps it was because he was moved by their true feelings that the Asura was driven away and Nenah's shadow was returned to her. The two of them were no longer separated by the divide between humans and ghosts, and from then on, they were inseparable. Almost everyone has seen several versions of the story of Nenah, and everyone is very familiar with the main plot. But this time, The bold attempt to shift the background to the Republic of China era has given us a completely new feeling. Next, Victor will tell her story. This is a story that takes place at the end of the previous dynasty, but the story takes place during the Ming dynasty. Look at the calligraphy style of this poem, it's absolutely amazing. The story is called Painted Skin. The story begins with a middle-aged couple who have been married for many years. Every day, the wife carefully prepares a sumptuous meal for her husband, who is always preparing roasted meat. However, the husband's reaction is, "Can you put more salt in your cooking? The taste is so bland." From this, we can see that the wife is very content with this ordinary life, while the husband is the complete opposite, finding life bland and boring. The husband told his wife that he had a business dinner that night and wouldn't be home for dinner. The wife advised him that he should study hard since his exams were approaching, but the husband replied with, "You don't understand," completely widening the distance between them. Seeing that communication was ineffective, the wife asked him to find a handyman to polish the old mirror at home when he passed by Jingpu, but he didn't take his wife's words to heart. On a dark and windy night, the man heard a woman crying on his way home. Wen Sen went to find a beautiful neighbor and told her that he was homeless and asked for her help. He said his surname was Wang, and he had a small study near Land Roer Temple that was usually deserted. He said that if the young lady did not mind, she could stay there for a few days. After settling in, the man went home. His wife asked him about the mirror, but he said, "Throw it away and buy a new one. That was a gift from you when we got married. We have been married for so many years, old things should be thrown away and replaced." This passage seems to describe the wife herself. She also feels she should be replaced. To cater to the husband's tastes, the wife plans to cook some strongly flavored dishes. Meanwhile, her husband, who is keeping a mistress, is having an affair with another woman.
Which cager could withstand such a test? He immediately agreed and planned to go out to buy some wine to celebrate. Just then, he ran into the zookeeper who came to feed the animals. The guilty husband quickly pulled his wife away. Just then, the discerning wife smelled the fragrance on her husband. Just as they were choosing a mirror, a young Taoist priest came. The guilty husband, though he didn't admit it outwardly, was worried about the Taoist's words. So under the pretext of buying a mirror, he returned to the study. His wife, who was already suspicious, also came with him. A crow was looming in the main hall, an ominous sign. Then the man went to the back hall and saw a scene he would never forget through the window. His wife, who had come with him, also rushed over to check. The two, terrified, scrambled back to find the young Taoist priest. After hearing their description, the priest gave them a Fukan, a magic artifact to hang in their home. Just as the husband was trying to argue with his wife, the mistress showed up at the door. The wife was in shock while he burst in. "Have you forgotten what you promised me?" The next day, the wife woke up to find her husband dead beyond any doubt. His heart had been ripped out. The priest and her brother-in-law went to find the young Taoist priest. The priest uses magic to discover that the ghost might be hiding in someone else's house. Familiar lines, familiar smells. Everyone immediately rushed to the brother-in-law's house, suppressing the ghost. Seeking a home, the woman thought, listening to the words of the departing ghost. She felt the same way, wanting a place to hide even if it meant blindly pleasing others. "I can only catch demons but not save people, but I know a master whose skills far surpass mine. Perhaps he can save me." The woman's husband had heard that this man was unpredictable and lived in Land Roer Temple, but when they found him, he looked like a disheveled beggar. "The men of this world have run away." The beggar humiliated her in front of everyone, but the woman still insisted on saving her husband, so the beggar rubbed out the largest mud ball in history from his body. He said, "If you eat this mud ball, I'll agree to your request." In the end, the woman swallowed the mud ball as if it were a piece of cake. Feeling mocked, she returned to her husband's side. The recent events flashed wildly through her mind, and she felt a churning in her stomach. The mud ball that fell into her husband's heart miraculously reacted. After the flower petals of the painted skin demon were sprayed out, her husband miraculously came back to life. Seeing her resurrected husband and hearing his words of repentance, the woman felt no emotion. Thinking about all the mess she had recently experienced and the thought of having to continue this life of resurrection, she only felt, back here, the scholar listened to the story and praised it, but still couldn't judge who won or lost. He was then swallowed whole by the angry Master Jin-chan. After he came out, he immediately began his story. The scholar told this story, which took place in the early Ming dynasty. The story is called The Palace Maid of Lu. The story begins with a young man who loves to read. One day, while reading outdoors at Land Roer Temple, he was attacked by a huge wild boar. Just at this critical moment, a graceful young woman appeared. He wanted to repay the girl's life-saving grace by marrying her. Unfortunately, the girl only had big eyes and did not give the young man a chance to confess his feeling. After the girl left, the young men found a sachet embroidered with the character I in the grass. Several days later, the young men found out that she was the eldest daughter of the Lu family and planned to return the sachet to her in person. However, when he arrived at the Lu family, the steward told him that the young lady had died suddenly in an accident the day before and was buried near Land Roer Temple. Then he left. So he found Miss Luce's grave and read poems to her for 3 months. Perhaps he moved the heavens, or perhaps Miss Luce couldn't stand the noise anymore. That day,
After returning the sachet to its owner, the young man told Miss Luce that his name was Oliver. Miss Luce then told Oliver that she had committed too many sins in her previous life and that in her next life she could truly be reborn as a human. She held a 9-petaled golden lotus. Half a lotus flower represents one life, and only when all 9 petals are open can she be reborn as a human. Because she lacked the support of a foreigner, she couldn't leave this place. Thus, Miss Luce used Oliver for her own scheme. She finally saw someone jump into the river.
Then, instead of saving the person, they almost lost a boat. Just as Miss Lewis was complaining about Oliver, who couldn't swim, going into the water, the first half of the golden lotus was activated after successfully rescuing a life. Then they rescued the baby in the coffin. The woman was so frightened that she broke out in a cold sweat. Over the days, their relationship has undergone subtle changes. Looking at the sleeping Oliver, Miss Lewis was filled with many thoughts. The knot Miss Lewis tied for Oliver symbolizes a promise and bond of life and death. Time flies. Through their continuous search for opportunities, just after they rescued a little bird, the golden lotus finally had only 1 half petal left. However, the two of them did not feel happy at this time. Instead, they felt sad about the upcoming separation. The two came to the city and Kongming lanterns floated in the sky. She let Oliver make a wish. "I wish Miss Lewis could be freed and reborn soon. I want to return to Land Roer Temple." Miss Lewis thought that returning to Land Roer Temple would allow her to escape reality, but fate had destined them to be separated. Now, the will of heaven is so strong, and the opportunity is right in front of them. Miss Lewis said that once she is reincarnated, she will forget what happened between them, but Oliver would never delay her chance to be reincarnated because of his own selfish desires, especially since she had previously taken a life. How could Miss Lewis not want to see Oliver? So Miss Lewis could only pick up the little fish and put it back in the water. Oliver made a promise to Miss Lewis that no matter where she was, he would find her reincarnation. Oliver followed Miss Lewis to the entrance of Huangchen to see her off on her final journey. Seeing an old woman's cartwheel stuck, the two went to help push. Mengpo noticed them and immediately saw through their karma. Just as Miss Lewis was about to drink the Mengpo soup, Mengpo stopped her. Miss Lewis drank the Mengpo soup and embarked on her new life. Just as the grieving Oliver was preparing to return to the human world, 16 years later, 16 years have passed in the blink of an eye. Oliver, having passed the imperial examination with flying colors, returned to his hometown and planned to travel to find the reincarnated Miss Lewis. At this moment, a gust of evil wind blew his hat off, and he saw his aged reflection in the water. At this moment, he remembered Mengpo's words from back then. When he arrived at Land Roer Temple, he was feeling sentimental when he accidentally fell into a well. When he struggled to climb out, he was surprised to find that he had returned to his former appearance, so he immediately went to the door to play the violin. You always say there's a preordained connection from a past life, so wouldn't this be enough to make them recognize each other? But when Miss Lewis saw the handsome young man in the lobby, she sadly turned and ran away. She, in her reincarnation, couldn't remember Oliver's appearance, but she knew that after so many years, her age couldn't possibly be the same as this young man's. She thought he was someone her parents had deliberately found to impersonate her so she could marry early. So many years had passed, perhaps he was no longer alive. Thinking of this, her heart turned to ashes. After 16 years of anticipation and waiting, what Oliver received was, at this moment, Oliver knew that Miss Lewis would definitely be in that place. He jumped into the yellow springs without hesitation. Just as Miss Lewis was about to drink the Mengpo soup, she still didn't recognize Oliver. The world began to rage. Heavenly punishment descended and blood surged like a tide. The color of the flood was probably adjusted like this for the sake of the gods. If a normal red foray, if a normal bright red was used, it would be more visually impactful. Miss Lewis, struggling, accidentally knocked unconscious on a pile of rocks. Oliver found her in the pool of blood. To escape this place, he carried her and ran wildly. After waking up, Miss Lewis saw this familiar scene and finally remembered the bits and pieces of their past life. "It really is you, my girl. Oliver, you found me. I found you. I've also invited you back." This story from Lu Gongyu revolves around the fusion of life and death with elements such as the Other Shore Flower, the road to the underworld, and Mengpo's soup, constructing a ghostly world of amnesia. Ultimately, it transcends the boundary between the yin and yang to become a scroll titled A Chaotic Collection of Love and Fragments, becoming a highlight of the production and an aesthetic breakthrough. It possesses both visual impact and emotional tension, making it a rare masterpiece.
Returning to reality, the scholar who finished telling the story turned around and asked the two of them, "What do you think of my story?" At this moment, the two people behind him were already crying like pear blossoms. They suddenly felt that they were not scholars and that the gap between them was so great. They were so ashamed that they drove the scholar out of the well. Before leaving, they asked the scholar's name. His name is Paul. He's a poor scholar who has just failed the imperial examination. He came alone